Hello, my name is Kasper Johansen and I'm your YouTube philosopher. There's a new thing I'm going to be doing on my channel. That is, I'm going to do book reviews on philosophical works by philosophers. From this video on, I'm going to make book reviews from philosophers that has sent me books from all over the world. Philosophy professors has sent me their books, and I'm gonna review them and talk about them here on my channel. My first book is not something that the author has sent me personally. I will do that from the next video. In this first video, I'm gonna review something that I just find very interesting. It's actually a book that's now about 20 years old, written by PhD Lou Marinoff, and it's called Plato, not Prozac, and it was actually it got pretty great reviews back then when it came out, and I highly recommend this book, both for the student of philosophy, but also those who might not know that much about philosophy, but are interested in what is the uses of philosophy. Because Lou Marinoff, and I hope I pronounce his name correctly, that it's in the title. You need Plato, you do not need Prozac, and Prozac is one of these happy pills you can take to make yourself feel better. Instead of medicine, you need philosophy, according to this book, because Lou Marinoff is actually the founding president of American Philosophical Practitioners Association. So he's a philosophical counselor, and he's also a professor in philosophy, and he uses a practical philosophy for counseling clients in problems, just like a therapist, like a psychotherapist or a psychologist do. So even for a student who might not know that much, even for a person who doesn't know that much about philosophy, this book makes you intrigued about the subject of being counseled by a philosophical counselor instead of a psychologist, for instance, or a psychotherapist. And also for me, who has studied philosophy for many years and was about 7 years at the university as a student, I also find this very interesting, the idea of using a philosophical counselor instead of a psychologist or some other form of therapist, like a psychotherapist. And also for me personally, I'm about to start my own practice of philosophical counseling. I'm a novice at this stage in philosophical counseling, so I'm kind of taking everything in that is interesting on this subject about philosophical counseling. So that's also why I started reading Lou Marinoff's book, and let's dive into it. What makes this actually a good book that I can recommend. It also say here a kind of a tagline under Plato, not Prozac, that applying eternal wisdom to everyday problems. And let's go straight to it. He uses all kinds of philosophers throughout history, modern days and even ancient Greek ones, which I like, the ancient Greek ones, like Aristotle and Plato. He uses some Nietzsche and and all kinds of philosophers, Immanuel Kant, all kinds of philosophies used as examples of something in a philosophical problem in this one, and you can. It's a good book to kind of look down on specific problems where you can managing everyday problems like seeking a relationship, midlife without crisis, when work doesn't work. Kind of you if you're stuck in your work situation and you want to apply for something else, but you're not sure what you should work with. That's a problem, and philosophy can help. That's the main idea in this book. Ending a relationship. How do you seek guidance for ending a relationship? Should you end it? Here you can also use philosophy, and he actually has a 5-step of managing problems philosophically, something called peace, where is, let me just look it up here, what peace stands for. It's the peace process. The P is for the problem, and E is for emotion, and A is for analysis, and C is contemplate, and the E is for equilibrium. So you start by identifying your problem according to this peace process in here, and it's full of cases. That's also good. It's full of cases with actual people, real people that he has been counseling. He changed their names in order for them to be anonymous, of course, but it's real people with real problems, and you have the cases where he goes through this peace process with the cases with all those different problems you can be in with your life, maintaining a relationship, finding meaning or purpose, gaining from loss when you lost your loved ones, and so on. But anyways, back to this peace process. That first you identify your problem, and you kind of delve into that from many levels to really get the grasp, kind of like Hegel. He says in German, to begriff, you get your hands on, you really get the concept of what your problem is, get the right terminology to understand your philosophical problem, and then you have emotion, which is the next step. I'm going through this without giving it really judgment. You have to read this book to really understand it. I'm just going over it very quickly so you can get an idea what this book is about. Plato, not Prozac. But the E is emotion, which is the next step, where you really delve into this emotion that your problem is causing, or your feelings about the problem, or we're already philosophizing here. When you try to understand your emotion, when you have understand your problem first, you have to understand your emotion about the problem, or what sort of emotion comes from the problem. You get into this process with emotion also, and the next level is analysis. I'm having trouble with that word. Analysis. You enumerate and evaluate your options for solving the problem in this analysis. Analysis. Sorry, I'm kind of a word idiot today. I'm filming this on a very warm day, so it might be the heat. But did I forget when I walked you through this peace process? The C is for contemplate, where you have to contemplate your entire situation according to your initial problem that you came to your counselor, or you can do it yourself. Lou Marinoff says in this book, and this book is for all, you can use this by yourself, but if you don't know that much about philosophy, it can help to have somebody who knows a bit of philosophy to counsel you. But you could also do it yourself if you have enough skills within philosophy to do it. But it's kind of like a commercial for philosophical counseling, this book, which I also kind of like because I want to be a philosophical counselor myself. So it's interesting knowing more what it's like from one of the first who started it in America, Lou Marinoff. But anyways, back to this: contemplate your entire situation is to see, and then the last step after articulating the problem, expressing your emotion, analyzing your option, and contemplating a philosophical position, you reach an equilibrium, and this is where you really can do philosophical justifiable through a kind of a bigger perspective on things. You can kind of at this process or this stage in the process, this peace process, you can kind of at the equilibrium stage go back and really have a broad perspective on your problem. Say your problem is anger. You have some issues with anger and you've been through this entire process. Now you can really delve into books about anger. You can read Seneca's book on anger and really understand anger on a deeper level. That's what you have time for in this equilibrium stage. You can kind of go back. That's the way I understand it from this book. So that's kind of great. And also I tried to do it on myself. I have my background also philosophy like Lou Marinoff, so I felt okay by trying to use this process stage on something I was dealing with at that time when I read the book, and that was actually something about anger. So that's why I use that example. I'm not going to be that private in this video to go deeper into that, but I used that peace process on myself, and I thought it was I got something of it. I got a great understanding on I thought what the problem was, and I feel like that I'm at this equilibrium stage right now that I want to exploit more perspectively, this anger perspective. So that's my personal experience with this book. So it's highly recommendable, and I like he's not like this like some of these philosophical books. He gets it very down to level, so everybody can follow along. It's not reading in a very posh language or anything. It uses a vocabulary that's fairly easy to get around, and it's also meant for the public. It's a popular book, but also suggesting for further reading. And also he read a more extensively book for philosophical counselors themselves that I probably will read at some point. That's more complex and in depth. Of course, this is kind of like introduction to this philosophical counseling. But anyways, I enjoy it. I also have to do a bit of a critique point at this book. He comes with a very provocating thing about psychology and psychiatry, and it may be very provocative to some people, this critique he has in the beginning part of the book of psychology in general, and I also found it very provocating, but I'm not saying that he isn't right. I think he has some very interesting points, but I'm not sure that how everybody would take this critique part of psychology, and it's interesting stuff to say at least. But that's the only thing I have to say about it. That I am not sure how I feel about this point in the book, but I found it very interesting and provocating indeed. And perhaps that was Lou Marinoffs' also idea to provoke our views about psychology and psychiatry. So. Oh, I have to say, if there's anybody out there who has happened to have written a book on philosophy or a subject within philosophy, please contact me, and you can send me your book and